At this point in time, lift the spoiler warning. Everything is fair game.
I just want to start screaming everything that happens in the show.
I've got my interrogation list here. Mae, you're first on the list.
Okay, hit me.
All right. I'll start broad. Is there any particular plot point or element of this story that took the most workshopping to get just right? And you can name anything you want at this point.
I think well, in the writer's room, I think definitely knowing at what pace to drip feed information so that people feel like they're getting enough that it's progressing, but not, pardon my French, blowing your load all at once. And so I think Laura's parents, that was tricky. And then also just what exactly the leap process is, and that very specific therapy that Evelyn's tailored to her needs.
Can you tell me specifically when it comes to the leap process about figuring out how many answers to give the audience, but how much of that to leave in their minds to still question?
I always, as a viewer, I like having some things open to interpretation where I get to discuss it with people and have ideas. But with the leap process specifically, I think, yeah, I mean, we've researched a lot of sort of cults and self-help cults in the 70s, like Synanon and MK Ultra and things like that. Yeah, we got pretty deep in our cult research and we tried to pay homage to all that.
This is a big question that I don't know if you're going to want to answer because I don't know what you have cooking for the future, but because I'm also obsessed with Yellow Jackets, I love the idea of toying with this in my mind. When you think of your show, like, do you think of any ounce of it being supernatural?
I don't. I don't. I think of human nature and psychology and how fragile our brains are, and that actually you don't need to dial up the fiction too much once you start researching these things. There's some wild stuff, and we're so easily kind of warped, you know?
Yeah. It's horrifying and maybe a little easier to explore when you're doing it through a TV show or a movie,
yes,
which is
totally,
why
yeah.
I love TV shows giving me safe spaces to question these types of things.
Yes.
Because of what you just brought up, Toni, I'll jump to you next for, I guess, your final scene of the show. I'm just really curious about maybe some of your biggest burning questions about what that space is that she enters with all the doors. Do you know how that, I guess, was described to you so that you played it accurately in the moment? Is it kind of like a purgatory?
It's like an ego death. Yeah. So you kind of don't exist. In the show, she's kind of exposed to an infinite loneliness. And for someone who's just been trying to connect in all the weirdest ways, it's torture. I mean, ultimately the show's about intergenerational trauma and trying to squash the effects of it rather than allowing people to naturally work through their own stuff. And then it's big time karma because Evelyn has to face everything she's trying to be enforced upon other people. Did that come out as English?
No, that was good, I think.
It did.
Yeah,
one thing that crossed my mind, and both of you can chime in on this if you want, when she sees all those doors in the end, and I feel like the answer could be the same thing, are those her personal doors or perhaps the other doors she forced people to access on their own?
Well, I want to leave some stuff open to interpretation, but in my mind, fair. They're her doors. But yeah, and I think, I mean, she's had an overdose of the substance, so this is not your regular leap process. But she, her whole ethos is about attachment being the root of all evil, and I think the reality of once she lets go of that and has that ego death is pretty lonely and infinite. I'm
not going to forget the idea of an ego death.
Yeah.
It makes it hurt that much more when I think about it. Allie and Sydney, I want to come back your way with the scenes that we were teasing before now that we could talk about it. That hot seat scene between the two of you is just absolutely so incredible. Yeah. What would you say is the biggest difference between how you prepare for a scene like that versus any other scene in the show, especially because that feels like the first time for your characters that, like, they're not being performative in front of the staff there?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it for me was figuring out the decline of their relationship like beforehand, because I didn't want it to feel like it's coming out of nowhere. Like they've been completely fine and then all of a sudden they're screaming at each other and they're upset. So I think most of it was just figuring out the little moments in the scenes that come before that in the episode, like leading up to that, where you can kind of see it cracking through that they're kind of annoyed at each other and they're kind of upset. And then in that scene, it just kind of all comes to climax. And I think in that scene, it's really beautiful because you're seeing they're mad at each other and you're seeing the frustration they have towards each other, but it's also just a meltdown of all the frustration that they've been carrying the entire time they've been here. And especially for Abbie's character, I think, I'll let you speak on that. But yeah, I think that it's a great moment to see both of them in a very vulnerable state for the first time in this environment.
I think everything that they say in that conversation is true. And I think that's why it hurts so much to each other, because it's everything that they've been holding back. And I think because Lila's character has gone through so much trauma, my character has really had to tiptoe around that. And so now it's like this huge confrontation that is so heartbreaking. And you see this friendship that is so codependent at the beginning, and they just learn how to grow and learn how to grow on their own. And don't cry again, please. But yeah,
it's beautiful, but really heart-wrenching.
It's beautiful, and I went home and I was like, what happened?
I wish we had time to talk about every ending scene, but I just want to also say that your goodbye scene is exceptional. Sarah, my spoiler question for you is, I'm so curious about your final moment and figuring out, I guess, the right tone and body language for when she delivers the line, "It's everyone's. It's the only way to break the pattern."
Well, she just had a baby. She's inside of a lot of hormones and a lot of altered feelings and states. But I think, really Laura genuinely believes that. I think that not unlike Toni's character, Evelyn, I think that she has kind of this warped perception of how she can break this cycle of trauma. And she really does mean it in earnest. And at the same time also wants Dempsey and wants wants it all.
It's incredible how, because I'm reaching for characters that I like to want and do certain things, I'll like force my own interpretations on things, but I know what you're saying is true. I want them all to walk a better path. Brandon, for you, I'm curious about the delivery of your last lines here. When you got the script for the end for your character, why did him saying, "Alex, I see you," feel like the most fitting way for him to go out?
Oh, that's incredible. And I think we went back and forth of ways to deliver that line on the day. I think for Andrew's, like, Tall Pines to him is not a place, it's an idea. And I think it's really hard for us when we get set into an idea to release that idea. And I think he's saying, at the end, he's like, I see what you're trying to do here. I see that you're trying to, like, sort of break up the scar tissue that this idea is sort of just trying to implement on people, and it's more of like, my bad, I see you. Yeah.
And then the next thing happens. I have to let you go soon. I'm gonna dare to look to the future, and I always think about this space as a manifestation space. I want to know more. I want to know more very, very badly. So, Mae, I'm curious, when you go into pitching a show like this, do you go in with a series-long roadmap? And if so, I guess, how would you define what you maybe have cooking for season 2 compared to season 1? Because I just love with series how obviously each season would need to feel connected, but you have the opportunity to do something a little different each time around.
I mean, I think it was pitched as a limited series, so I think we'll see.
It could easily go on.
It could easily go on, yeah. And I have a lot of ideas of where it would go. I mean, you've left all the characters in very compromised situations, and you would just have to explain why the hell, like, the FBI isn't shutting this place down. But yeah, I think there's more story there.
Just saying, you have a lot of different paths you could pursue.
Call Netflix,
here.
Yeah.
They're in the room. I think they feel my request right now. I want more, but in the meantime, I'm going to say huge congratulations on Wayward. Thank you for being here and sharing some of your experience with us.
Thank you so much.
Good job.